Hi, welcome to my sewing room. Today I have a special guest from Ghent, Belgium. He is a sewer, he is an artist, he is a textile designer. He is just absolutely amazing, and his name is Thomas Renwart. So today I would like to welcome everyone to meet my good friend Thomas Renwart. Hello, Thomas. How are
Hello,
you?
Anne. Good. Yeah, it's nice to speak to someone from the other side of the world this early. Yeah. It's a good change. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, it's still very COVID here. It's been worse now
Yeah.
again. So there's a new crisis going on. So
I
yeah,
tell you, I don't think there's going to be a time where we're not going to be thinking about safety, keeping our
yeah.
germs away from other people. It's really
Mm,
causing a change in the world, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, and creatively as well in a good way though. I
Yes,
think it's been a challenge for many people to rethink themselves and reinvent themselves, I think.
I
And
do
you can
too.
see it everywhere on Instagram, in the real life. People have really benefited from a crisis in a way, in a creative way, not particularly economically or personally, but yeah, yeah. So that's good.
It's a new world, and
Yeah, absolutely.
it doesn't mean that it'll be like this forever. I'm sure once we get the vaccine worked out, we're closer than we were yesterday. So I'm trying to focus on being creative and being patient and not getting caught up
Yeah,
in all that pressure,
yeah,
because it kind of gets worse. So I thought,
yeah,
let's talk about you.
yeah,
Let me hear what you've been up
yeah,
to. We met in Ghent 5 years ago. I was just
yeah,
dropping
yeah,
in and thought I'd say hello. And we had such a wonderful time.
yeah,
And I really want to hear from this. You were doing a textile designer course, and I
yeah,
think you might have finished that. Tell me about your
yeah.
story now.
Well, I graduated a year and a half ago, sorry, and I graduated with tapestries, and now I'm working as a full-time textile artist, actually. So that's I've been really blessed with many chances I've got and expositions and things, and so I'm working with Belgian weaving mills, and with the Textiles Museum from Tilburg in Holland, which is really exciting, and that's what I'm doing. But the thing is, this year changed a lot because of the obvious things, and uh, because of the sewing left my life for 2 years because of I didn't really use a weaving mill and not a sewing machine. But due to COVID, sewing has completely taken over my life again, and I've never been so in love with my sewing machine because it really helped through the lockdown. And so it's funny how sometimes you just need to go away from something to really know that you missed it, and to see what a big of a influence it has on your daily life, actually, because you can just sit in your home safe and sound and just make whatever you want with a minimum of things, actually, a bit of fabric, a bit of thread, and that's it. And then you start, and that's something that was so refreshing because I was so used to using the mills and the big things that were coming out. And now I enjoy spending so much time on a little hand work or just sewing, and it's been so refreshing to meet my sewing machine again. So you invited me on a point in my life where it actually all comes together again. So it's the stars were aligned for your invitation, and so yeah, it's been quite a ride, and it's nice to be able to work with textiles on a daily basis, because it's an organic material, and everything is always new, and you always find new things, and it speaks to you, and you work together with the material, and that's so refreshing. And so it's always, yeah, textiles is, yeah, a little friend in a way, yeah, because you communicate with each other, and that's what I love about it. Yeah,
It's just amazing. And you've got a website that has all the
yeah,
exhibitions and what's going on. And
yeah,
I know there's been a bit of a rescheduling. but the information is all on your website, what you've been doing, your beautiful pieces. And what we'll do is we'll put a link with this interview so that people can have a look and see just how creative you are and how amazing your imagination is. And just, you've got a mixture. You're interested in horticulture, you're interested in the royals, you're interested in sewing, you have a real classic twist to things, but it's all brought together that is uniquely you and the way you design your pieces. It's edgy, it catches your eye, and it's exciting, but it also makes a large statement, which I really appreciate. Just all those pieces of your personality that has come out in your artwork and your creations. So tell me what you're making on the sewing machine at the moment.
Well, I started something this morning actually, because I've been, since the lockdown, I completely switched to quilting, applique, and embroidery. So it's a 180, but it's amazing because I can just sit here. I'm not depending on anything, just my fabrics and me.
Yeah. You're not alone when you've got your fabric, are you?
and wait. I don't know if it's mirrored, but it says "Comme si de rien n'était," which is on it, and it's a secret piece. It says something that I wanted to communicate outside to the people, but I won't say what, because it needs some interpretation for everyone, and I think everyone can relate to the sentence as if nothing were. It's a very broad thing, and that's what I love about it. And then here I have a new piece with embroidered butterflies. Wait, I don't know, which I'm doing some cross stitch on it as well, and the text is un ami à tout le monde est un ami à personne, which means a friend to all is a friend to none, and that's why I put so many butterflies to do. They carry the sentence. It's a critical work actually, because I'm becoming more, and the more I age, the more I dare to be a bit more political in my work, but without pointing it out in your face. So I made scarves now with the fuck them all, which is actually with a statement to certain situations in the country. So that's like, it's funny how the older you get, more bolder you're able to become, or something, you know, like you don't think about what other people think too much anymore at a certain point, and that's really refreshing actually. I mean, I don't know, you're also very yourself and expressive, and I think you don't really think about, if I do this, what will people think, because you do it, you want to tell a story, and that's the point, and people who truly understand will follow the story with you, and you've built a community yourself as well with many people who follow that story. So that's something, we're lucky people, I think.
Well, it's that bit where the part of us that means something to us, there are like people who have that, but might not think that anyone else thinks like that until someone says something first. How can we know?
Absolutely. It's crazy how you sometimes think, oh, am I the only person who feels or thinks this way creatively and in other ways? And then suddenly you make an army of people that are completely different from who you are, but you're all bound with the same creative connection, and that's you become a community, and that's typically about sewing. I mean, sewing is still today, after all these years, the biggest community on Instagram as well, for example. So it's refreshing to see how we're all, I mean, you live in Australia, I live in Belgium, but we're talking now, and that's, we met through a sewing machine, so that's like, it's crazy but beautiful. So that's,
it's wonderful. And I think really that conversation is what you notice other people might not. So by talking about what you're aware of helps people not only connect with you if they agree, but number two, they can understand something else that they might not have understood. It just brings us together, but we're all different, and we all must be unique And
Yeah.
I think that's a safe thing to recognise, that we don't have to have people necessarily agreeing with us, but we can.
No, no. No, because with agreeing, you won't grow with agreement, I think. You need to have some, and it's not criticism, it's feedback, actually. You have to see it as a feedback. And we grow together. If everyone shares some things, because you don't know everything as one person, you know everything through many people, you know. And you should always, I think the most important thing when you're creative, is it professional or not, it doesn't really matter, but always be open to conversation and dialogue about what you're doing, because yeah, many people like us are self-taught people, and yeah, you can't teach yourself everything, and that's when other people need to come in, and that's the beauty about sewing. It's behind that little thread and the little needle lies an ocean, a universe of knowledge and good heart and everything, and that's beautiful, I think. And I think that's why many people stick to it now, and it's always been a revolution in the past, like in 2000, I don't know, 5 years ago, yeah, 6 years ago, when on BBC there was a sewing bee. Suddenly everybody was writing sewing books, making patterns and everything, and that was like really, it was a revolution. They said it was a revolution, and yeah, it was beautiful to see that in a modern time it can happen. So yeah.
Well, there's one thing we've all got to wear masks down here in Melbourne, and never before have people lined up down the street for blocks and blocks to get in, get some fabric and get a machine, because they realised that it was going to cost them a lot of money to buy the throwaway ones, and $15 a pop per mask is, it's pricey. But it's, you know, it's something that it got people going, and I thought, wow, I never thought I'd see that. So it's really opened up an opportunity for people.
Absolutely, yeah, because the same thing happened. The first week after the lockdown, I was at my parents during the lockdown. I came back to Ghent, and I forgot my embroidery hoop, and I went to the haberdashery, and for the first time ever, every embroidery hoop was sold out. And I went through 3 stores, no embroidery hoops, and I thought, wow, it's 2020, and normally iPhones sell out, or I don't know. But embroidery hoop was sold out, and that was so good. That was wonderful. Yeah, I was happy. I didn't have it then, but I was happy it was sold out. Yeah.
And if we had been closer, I could have lent you mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love embroidery. It's just, do you do knitting? Is that have you ever tried knitting?
Yeah, but I like making figurative things in my work. And with knitting, it takes it's a whole different world, knitting. I mean, and I haven't really got a love there for that yet, but I don't know. I am about to take a 1-year course of crochet now at a crochet school here in Ghent. So I'm going to teach how to professionally tapestry crochet. So perhaps that's like the next step is knitting, but yeah, it's something new that they offer, a 1-year course, a certificate course for crochet. So that's beautiful.
That's fantastic. It's really exciting. I mean, it's just, there are so many opportunities when we have time to think about things, and being in lockdown gives us a space where busyness really doesn't.
No, there was nothing about business. Nothing had to happen. You could it was refreshing to not have any obligations of socially or professionally. Nobody could and nobody would, and that's good. It was refreshing to have a freeze of the daily busy light speed life that we all lead. And yeah, because I contracted COVID myself really badly. Yeah, and I've been to the hospital, and I was very sick for 8 weeks, and that's how I started embroidering, because I had to rest continuously, and I hate being doing nothing, you know. So I started embroidering because of having COVID, and it gave me a purpose to really fight against it as well, and to do something. And I think embroidery helped me cure COVID in a way. So
it's the refocusing. I just can't even imagine just that. That's our biggest fear, is to catch it. But people are catching it, and they are getting better, but it's still, you'd never know how it's going to affect you.
No, because I didn't have any symptoms, and it was COVID settled on my heart, so I fell completely passed out, and it was then on my heart, and so it was quite frightening because that's a problem. You don't know when you have it, and then suddenly you just and then so just to say that these things also carry a weight in rethinking your days, as you say, and then those small works become a way of pushing you to become better and a bit of therapy. Because I have a quote from Louise Bourgeois somewhere. I wrote it down. Yeah, which is, she said, Louise Bourgeois, she's one of the most famous textiles artists in history. And she said that the act of sewing is a process of emotional repair. And that's so, I mean, that's so true. I think we all can agree, I think, that at a certain point in life, we actually didn't sew because of, any reason, but the only reason was a necessity, the sewing. And that's what many people started doing, I think, after big life changes or traumas. Many people start doing that. So I think the emotional repair value of sewing is very important.
And also it gives you an opportunity to delve into a designer's mind. Like when we look at designer patterns or we see things that we've liked in the past, we can incorporate that inspiration as well. So it's that blending of the now and then, which you're very much into the history, and you love I mean, Ghent is just such a beautiful place to live. So you are constantly inspired by the buildings, your surroundings, but also you love the country and you love plants. What is it about plants that, the flowers, tell me, you press flowers and you really are definitely uplifted by them.
Oh, yeah. It's actually because as a child, I never really, I don't know, I always had to be in the garden. I was always outside with the flowers, and they always gave me some comfort. And in my mind, it was like the flowers were like speaking and living, and I saw them as living beings. And I think that fascination kept on going. And now the pressing of flowers has become such a big part of my work, because they all get into my tapestries. And but the act of drying a flower is truly magical, because you actually have no control yourself, and the flower decides how it's going to dry, how it's going to protect its colors or not. It's really beautiful to see how time makes the flower a complete different species, and it's the same with textiles as well. When you have, for example, you inherit a beautiful tablecloth from your mother or grandmother, you see it starting to crack a bit and stain a bit after many years, and it becomes very fragile. And because a real flower, without being dried, is a strong thing. You know, it has a body. And when it's dried, it's crisp. It's like paper. You know, or not even. It's so fragile, and it speaks to you in a different way. And I think the process of making something actually die for because you push them into death, the flowers, is like a vanitas thing. I think it's really interesting how they change.
And then you have that different reflection on what the flower is. It's another aspect of it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and every flower, like I've woven tapestries now with paper and rubber, which are quite difficult materials to weave with. But I thought that the flowers that I used needed that, because they had a very sad form, but they needed the robustness of the rubber. So I always like to, the visual and the material always need to correspond or conflict in a way. So, and that's what I try to, and I read the flowers for that. So they actually tell me what they need in a way. So it's a kind of conversation that is similar to the one I had as a child, but now in a more grown-up way, of course. But
you know, just with your creativity, and I see beautiful tapestries and the lovely, amazing work that's on them, I actually see you down the track doing fabric printing. I don't know whether that might be something on you, but I can see you in them. I can see your face and just the way you would walk with something that would be a coat or something where you're wearing your art. And it's It's very exciting to see your work. And
Yeah.
I just know there is no way that I can even imagine where you're ending up, because your path is just so extensive, it's interesting, and you're someone who's worth watching.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really happy that we met through sewing. So thank you for for the love after 5 years.
Well, as soon as I heard your responses and read about, you on Instagram, it was like there is a real soul in here who's just a natural born creative. And I just thought, well, as we got talking and we were over on that side of the world, we just thought we might have to pop in and say hello to Thomas. And we stayed for,
Yeah,
I think, about a week. And it was just the most
yeah,
beautiful place. And it was just so lovely to interact with you. And we had a few adventures with that
yeah.
international school. And oh my gosh,
Yeah, that was so fun. Yeah,
it was so good.
And then the countryside visit. Yeah, my parents still talk about. Yeah, it's just a memory that will carry on living in us. So you touched her. So
it's just so beautiful. And you used to be called the Sewing Dude on Instagram, and now it's at Thomas Renwart, and your web page is called
lesmonseigneurs.com, and my other Instagram, because Les Monseigneurs is my alias, so I work between aliases and myself, and my alias on Instagram is also Les Monseigneurs. But there, when you go on my profile in the bio, you can click through actually. So there you can find all of the more finished works and the process things. So
and so you put your work on exhibition. Do you sell your work in retail stores, or how does that work?
I have a gallerist who is representing me, Bruthouse Gallery. And so my gallerist actually works as a spokesperson for my work and for art collectioners and everything, art collectors. So it's mainly that. So not in stores. So and on expositions and in private in my studio here as well. So it depends actually. But there is like a part of me that always wants to go back in a way for once, or for one piece, into fashion as well, or apparel, or so it's. I think you're right. There is going to be at some point something on the body, but
I think so. Yes.
So, but I think we all shift through every year, I think. And I mean, I don't think in 1 year you'll be making in a year. So it's nice not to know as well, that it just comes along and you just accept it.
I think it's definitely a pathway where you think you're going somewhere, and then there'll be a little bit of an interruption, and the interruption is the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we all have interruptions as creative people, because creativity is something you cannot force, and concentration either. So sometimes you just can't work or do something active. It's good because you have to let things grow and just be, and then you can start with a refreshed mind. And I think we all need to accept that a thing doesn't have to be finished the day we started, So let the sleeves be the sleeves for a while. Just do the bodies and add something else. Like I saw you added a pocket on something last week or so, and you were questioning yourself publicly, and that I think was so refreshing, that you actually asked publicly in front of all of your people, does this pocket fit? And I think that's beautiful, that you can actually put yourself in a more questioning daylight, because that's what we all do. And I think, thank you for doing that, because I think many people are scared to actually question their choices. And I think it's normal to question choices. I mean, if you make pasta, you don't know what you're going to put in it, so you question that. And so sewing is like making pasta,
Yeah,
So you have to.
it is. And look, there's so many things that I I would love to take a handbag because you know, I've got a handbag for every occasion, but
Yeah.
when you're walking around the block and you're not allowed to do anything else, a handbag is
Yeah.
not appropriate. And I do want to have a cup of coffee. We've got a coffee store in our street. So that means I
your
need
cappuccino.
something. I need the cappuccino, desperately. Melbourne's just known for it. But Bruce has that happy knack of, if there's a pocket available, he'll be filling it up with his things. So there was a real tension. Should I or should I not? And then he's got a phone, and then before I know it, I'll be walking on one side. And that's just not what I want to do. So we've tested it out. The one pocket works. I think if I had two, it would be too tempting for him to use that for his advantage.
Yeah.
He drives me nuts.
That's true.
Well, I'm just...
Some things never change, no.
I'm just so glad that you got through that COVID and you got better. I just didn't know. Oh my gosh. I'm glad you're still here.
No, but it's something. Yeah, thank you. Me too. No, but it has its advantages on terms of reinvention, so that's good. I'm happy that if I didn't have COVID, I don't think I would have got to the point where I picked up my sewing again, because and it was all there was, you know, the fabric and a sewing machine, and you have to fill your days, because 3 months in lockdown, it's long.
It's long.
But for me, it felt like a month only, because when you're so busy doing things and sewing, and which is also part of your healing process, because sometimes I just could do only a half an hour a day, and then I had to sleep because it made me tired because of COVID. But every day it became a bit longer. So COVID helped me. Sewing helped me leave COVID out of my body and make me the person I was again, but in a different light, I think. So so it's a blessing in disguise.
So I would love you to give our sewers from around the world, they're all listening, tell us something that would either inspire or encourage them at this time in our lives, just right now, that they're listening. What would be something that you could share that would help?
Do something that you've avoided because you were afraid you couldn't actually master the skill. So broaden your skill. If you make clothes, do something else. Do cut things. Invest in really taking things apart and putting them back together in different light, and challenge yourself continuously. And I think it's time for self-education, and kill your darlings, but keep them, and just try something. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. But you know you've tried something new, and perhaps there's a new passion or new obsession there for you, or perhaps not, and it's all right. But I think challenging yourself when the world is being challenged equally is really, really helpful to reinvent yourself within what you're doing. And that's something we have to do, and just put yourself in that position of making a conflict for yourself and working it out. And there's so many options that you can do with just a bit of fabric and needle and thread, and just do it. And make something for your neighbor. Make a little tablecloth with a little message on it, and share that, share little messages. Make a handkerchief with we're all getting through this, embroidered on it, and give it to people. I don't know, just share hope and positivity now, I think. And that's the power we have as sewers.
And I think really that's just nailed it, really. I think people are just so concerned about the situation that they're looking inward, but by forcing ourselves to do something in an outward way, shakes people up. I've seen a few things. I've been testing out the waters in the supermarket for essential shopping, and people are so shocked and think it's not that big a thing, but it is, because it's changed the outlook. So it's sharing what we have with others, and that's a very odd thing because of the restrictions. So it's a worthwhile thing to see how you can do it, whether it be a piece of artwork, some embroidery, to share with someone to help them see
Mm.
from a different angle. I think that's a beautiful encouragement, and I think that's helpful to see how we can do it ourselves in our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we can't forget that will have days in this entire COVID story that we will think, oh my gosh, I'm so tired of everything, and that's all right. You can be beaten sometimes. It's not a crime, and let yourself just be beaten, and then the next day will be different. But this is a natural process, and we can't fight it because we have so little now, because we cannot give each other hugs or kisses, or we can't even touch each other to say, oh, it's going to be all right. And that's so inhumane and so harsh.
Yes.
So I hope that we can recreate this feeling of compassion, which is quite one of the basic human rights, compassion, within what we do. And I think we have the power for that. And let's just do that, because many people need it.
They do. And it's not obvious because we are hidden with the masks. So it's very hard to know.
Yeah, absolutely. You have no expression left whatsoever. So it's very cold. Yeah.
It is. So I think that's wonderful. And the bobbin's empty. And Thomas Renwart, thank you so much for coming into my sewing room today.
Thank you.
And hopefully, in a few months' time, we'll reach out and have another little touch base and see how you're going. And hopefully the restrictions will be over, and we'll be using what we've learned in this restricted time to do something exciting that we didn't think was possible. Thanks for coming today. I really appreciate you coming over.
Thank you. Thank you, and stay safe and healthy.
You too. Keep well. Thank you, Thomas. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Well, the bobbin's empty. It was great chatting with Thomas Renwart from Ghent, Belgium. And I'm so excited that people from all around the world can get together and meet and chat and catch up and see how we're all going. He really encouraged us to do something that we're scared to do. Give it a go, try it. And if it doesn't work out, you can't say you haven't tried. And I love that. I love the fact that it's about growing. And if you would like to take your sewing from good to great, I'd love to be part of that. Whether that means I talk to your sewing groups or have a mentor session or a chat. Send me an email, info@Whalley, and we can work out something and talk. So next time, if you would like to meet someone else from somewhere else in the world, come along to my sewing room and we can have some fun together. And I'll see you later.